So I do a lot of hiking and it is so beautiful and I take a lot of videos and photos. And then I won this like draw that gave me a coupon to this art store and I didn't really know what to get. So I ended up getting a little notebook, watercolor paper, and this little travel watercolor set. So I thought it would be really fun to like try doing watercolor paintings of some of the photos I took during my hikes. First, I started out by swatching all the colors because I wanted to see how they would look when they dried on the paper. There is 12 colors in this little kit: white, lemon yellow, cadmium yellow, crimson lay, cadmium red, cobalt blue, cerulean blue, yellow orchard, Van Dyke brown, burnt umber, hooker's green, and sap green. So the first painting I'm going to do is of this beautiful tree that I took a photo of. It looked like it was like, honestly, it looked like it was from some kind of fantasy book. It looked like it was trying to take over the forest, and I was like, that is a really cool tree. So I wanted to paint it. I decided I should probably start with like an outline of some sort so I kind of know what I'm aiming for. Did I really follow it at all? No, but at least I tried. Then I kind of just went for it. Like I was kind of just hoping that because these are all like leaves and gardens and like nature stuff, it would kind of just, as long as I kept adding stuff, it might look good in the end was my strategy. But I painted green for some of the leaves, and then I realized that I probably should have done blue for the sky first. But you know, this was a learning, you know, I was just trying something and learning as I go. I was really trying to give the painting depth, so I started just going over with some like really light lines in the background to try to make it seem like there's a whole bunch of trees in the background. And at this point I was kind of second guessing this painting. Like I didn't know how to make the bottom look like they weren't just like ending, and I don't know, but I was like, I kind of felt like it had something and I was excited that it was going to turn out well, but I was definitely questioning my abilities. At this point, I had kind of just started doing whatever I wanted with like the branches. I just started putting branches everywhere and then hoping that they looked okay. And if they didn't look okay, I just made them thicker and moved them around a little bit. I don't know. I was just kind of going for it, and it was turning out okay. I was pretty happy with what it was looking like. The ground still needed some work, but the trees were turning out okay. I think one thing I definitely learned from this first painting was to kind of not know when to stop, but know when to let it dry a bit, because I kept messing with the ground trying to give it like this texture of leaves, and then they felt too big, so I kept going with it, and then I just kept muddying into a big blob, and then I was losing all the texture that I was trying to make the painting have. Honestly, I was really happy with how this painting was turning out. I haven't used watercolors in a long time, and I was really nervous this was going to be a complete disaster, but I think it looks pretty good. I was pretty happy with it. So I did learn from the last one, to paint my sky first, and then I wanted to try, I remember when I used to do watercolors when I was younger, there was this technique where you use a cloth or like a Kleenex to tap away some of the paint, and that kind of gives you clouds. So I was trying to do that, but it just was not working the way I wanted it to. It still gave a little bit of texture, but just, it was not as good as I wanted it to be. I was also really hoping in this one that I could make it so as things were layered on top of each other, you could still see some of the other colors behind it. So to try to do that, I put like a base color down of what was going to be in general areas before I started adding all the texture and detail to the areas, so that if I put like the green over top of the blue, you could hopefully see it peeking through a little bit. I don't know if this is the proper strategy for watercolor, but I don't know. I was just trying things. Then I kind of just started adding a bunch of different colors to the green to try to separate it and make it look like a bunch of different trees. I also tried adding a little bit of like the red in some areas to try to look like there's like more flowers or stuff, but honestly that just kept going brown, and then if it was like bright red, it was like way too bright, so I was just like, I kind of just lived with it being there and didn't really try to emphasize it or anything, but yeah. Then I started adding the foreground trees, and I am really happy with how the tree on the right turned out. I liked how I did the leaves, and I learned where to stop and making it too watery, because you can actually see some of the blue behind it, and it didn't like mix together, which was my issue I was having with a lot of the other colors and stuff. Especially in the grass in the foreground, I just kept layering it and laying it, trying to add like a lot of different texture and like shadows to it, but then it just kept getting really dark in areas I didn't want, and it was, I don't know. I'm still learning and figuring it out, and I think this one taught me a lot about things that I was like, okay, next time don't do this or do this. But yeah, once again, I was really happy with how this one turned out, and I was really excited because I was like, you know what, I'm getting better, this is working out well. And then it was time for the next one where the same luck did not continue. Going into this painting, I think I had become a little bit overconfident in what I was doing and kind of just thought, you know what, I'm just gonna not outline at all, I'm just gonna go for it and see what happens. And I realized shortly after I probably should have still had a plan because it did not go as planned at all. Yeah. I think one of the things I'm learning with the watercolors is I really need to plan out what I'm doing, because you really can't like overlay the colors if you want like a soft color on top of another color. You really have to just have that color be there and paint around it. But then you get those lines. I don't know, I think I need to look more into how to do backgrounds and layer watercolors, because this was just not it. It was not working. It looked fine right now, but once I got to adding the leaves, that's when the real issue started to show, that I couldn't really have like a soft green leaf because I needed to cover the trees and I needed to cover the background. You can't layer this like you can other paints, which I obviously knew, but I think I just was really realizing the limitations of that and how you have to like kind of adapt to the medium, and I had yet to adapt is what I was learning. It felt like this painting was just a combination of all the mistakes that I made in the other ones to the extreme. Like, just everything I didn't know was really showing up and really highlighting the flaws of this painting. Like, the leaves were turning into just a mush of green that you couldn't really see any texture in. Like, it was all just getting way darker than I wanted it to be. And yeah, it was just, it wasn't great. And this was supposed to be the painting that I ended this video on, but because I was not very happy with it, I decided to do one more painting to try to redeem myself. After the last disaster, I was really determined to make sure that this last painting was really good, and I was being really ambitious, trying to do like an actual full scenery with like objects in it. I was kind of, my first attempts, I was sticking with a very like simple nature scene, so I could be very free and just go for it, whereas this one I actually did have like shapes and I needed like lines to match up, otherwise the image would feel kind of fake. So I had a full sketch for this one, and then I went and erased a little bit of it so that it wouldn't be as harsh. From the last two attempts, I had learned that trying to layer the green over top of the blue sky was just not working, so in this one I actually made sure to leave gaps for where I wanted the green to go. I did end up like trying to leave little blue spots that would go in between it, but I ended up covering all those up. I didn't really mean to, it just kind of happened, but I feel like the sky on this one turned out really well. Instead of trying to do an ombre, I like just put deeper colors kind of everywhere, and I just love the texture of the sky in this one, and I'm really happy with that, how that turned out. This first pumpkin that I did, I am so happy with how it turned out. All the other ones were okay, I liked them too, but that first one, I feel like I actually did a really good job of making sure to keep it light in areas and not just layering and getting darker, because I think that was one of the issues I'm having too, is I just keep trying to add stuff to add shadows, but then it keeps getting too dark in the areas that I wanted to keep light. So even when I like got to the end of this painting, I made sure not to touch that pumpkin, because I was like, no, if I add to it, it's just gonna get darker and darker, and that's not what I wanted. I wanted it to have those really light shadows. Even though I had learned a lot from the other ones, there are still mistakes I made in this painting, and one of those was the pumpkins in the background. I ended up adding a bunch of orange to them to try to add that contrast, but it ended up drying and just looking like a muddle of orange in the background, or like a darker orange than I wanted. I really wanted to keep like them lighter, like more of a yellow, which they are in the picture, but that did not end up happening. And then I kept trying to add more orange to like darken the shadows, or like then I added a layer of like a whiter color to try to lighten it, but nothing was helping. It just became a muddle in the background, and I kind of just had to deal with it. I added a little bit of brown and green to it to try to add like stems or shadows, and that helped a bit, but it's still something I definitely want to work on improving, is not having parts of my painting end up being little muddle puddles of just a color and having a little bit more texture in them. Like the sky and the trees turned out really well. Like you can see all like different shades and stuff, and it doesn't just feel like a blob of color. One of the other things I loved about this painting was the grass. I think I did a really good job on adding some texture to the grass and adding that shadow underneath the wagon. It made me really happy when it turned out well, but I did make a little bit of another mistake, but I fixed it, and that was Sterling's face. I kept making it darker and darker because I kept trying to add a nose and like eyes, but then it looked wrong, so then I'd just make the whole thing darker, and it just got so dark that it was like almost fully, like it was pigmented so much that it felt out of place in this painting. So I ended up going back later and using some water to like wipe off some of the face, and ended up giving her a little nose and some eyes. So I still wasn't happy with the face, so I ended up taking off a little bit of it and changing it, and I think it looks 10 times better now. Yay! This is probably my favorite one. But yeah, thank you so much for watching me attempt to paint. I think it was kind of successful. Here are the paintings. Here's painting 1, painting 2, and painting 3, which we don't need to talk about, and painting 4. And yeah, as I said at the end, I still think this is one of my favorites. I like the first 2 too. It's honestly, 3 is the only one I don't like, but yeah, thanks for watching.